We all have an idea about how important sleep is to our health, but did you know that you could actually die from not having sleep? Without water, it's generally accepted about 3 days of survival is what people will say. Obviously, in hotter climates, that could be accelerated to 3 to 5 hours potentially, and it could go longer, but 3 days without water. And without food, people will say, oh, about 21 days. And 21 days is when you become so nutrient deficient that you start going through organ failure and then eventually death. And obviously, people could die sooner or later, but 3 days without water, 21 days without food, and 10 days without sleep. Hi, I'm Matt Russell, founder of Secret Biohacks, and I'll explain exactly why your body needs sleep for health and for survival. And I'll give you the information that you need to start getting great sleep today. If you're not sure what a biohack is, or even familiar with the term, that's okay. A biohack is just a shortcut to improve your health and lifestyle through an understanding of how energy supports biology. And then once you go from there, you're going to find out that there's so many ways that you can improve your life through biohacking. And the best part is it's no nonsense, no doctors, and no big pharma to start implementing biohacks into your life. So if you're wondering why we need sleep, our brains are responsible for about 20% of all the calories we consume, of using those calories for brain function. And during the course of that brain function, we create metabolic waste. All of our cells create metabolic waste, but we have especially a large condensed amount in our small, for our size of our bodies, our brain's a small area, but it takes up 20% of the calories. The downside of that is that we don't have a very efficient removal system for metabolic waste in our brains. Our lymphatic system is what's responsible for pulling all of the metabolic waste out of our cells and all the toxicity away and pulling that out of our bodies, but we don't have even one lymph node in our brains. There's 800 plus through our bodies, but 0 in our brains. So that becomes really important because that buildup of metabolic waste is called brain toxicity. And brain toxicity can be described as something very similar that people would relate often to the effects of alcohol, where you get slower motor function, slower thinking, brain fog, coordination issues, balance issues. Just basically your brain just slows down and it doesn't function the way you would normally function when you wake up and you have lots of energy in the morning. Throughout the day, you might notice you get tired. And thanks to, and I say thanks kind of like in air quotes there, but thanks to Nazi Germany, they had a lot of scientists that did a lot of human medical research. And one of the things that they're known for is they did a lot of sleep studies. And they did sleep studies on humans, and they were very inhumane, but that was how they discovered that you would actually die in 10 days or less without sleep. These were horrific, horrific things. I don't wish that upon anybody. It's one of the most horrific ways to die is without sleep. But when you look into those studies, it taught us a lot about how people function. And I don't think anybody really understood that you would die without sleep prior to that, or at least we didn't know about that. And since then, there's been obviously lots and lots of sleep studies, and a lot of these sleep studies have brought really good information to the table. And some of that is that a human requires about 5 sleep cycles a night. And so your brain goes through these sleep cycles, and some of you are familiar with these terms, but like REM sleep, rapid eye movement. That is a dream phase or a high function phase where your brain is really going crazy and really humming along at night. And then that's followed by a light sleep period and then a deep sleep period. And so you have the REM phase, and then you have the downtime where your brain is resting and relaxing. And why that's significant is about the downtime is about 75% of each cycle. And then each cycle lasts about 45 to 110 minutes. And that's kind of the span of humans. And you'll notice that some people require a lot of sleep and some people require less sleep. And that's based on how long your sleep cycles are and how many sleep cycles you require. But like I said, it's about 5 sleep cycles and maybe averaging around 90 minutes for most people per sleep cycle. And where that becomes important is that is your body's way to remove that metabolic waste. And so when you're getting rid of that metabolic waste to help your brain function and think normally and act normally and move normally and all the things that your brain is accountable for, you need that metabolic waste to come out. And the way you do that is when you lay down at night and your brain goes into the rest period. When it's working and it's in the REM sleep, it's full of blood, it's getting oxygen, it's getting nutrients. And then when it goes more dormant, that blood flow supply really decreases. And when it decreases, your brain actually shrinks. And when your brain shrinks passively, cerebral spinal fluid will flow in and around your brain and fill in all those gaps from when your brain shrunk down. It fills that gap inside of your skull. And so cerebral spinal fluid has an affinity for absorbing this metabolic waste into the cerebral spinal fluid. And then when you start your next sleep cycle and your brain reactivates and fills back up with blood, your brain expands back to a normal size, and then it pushes out passively that cerebral spinal fluid. So you have lymph nodes that run from your neck all the way down your spine, actually all over your body, but the ones along your spine are the ones the most responsible for getting out that metabolic waste from your cerebral spinal fluid. And so now you cycle through once, you cycle through twice. 5 times later is a whole cleaning cycle. It takes 5 cycles to clean out your brain of that metabolic waste so that you can be back to normal. Which kind of brings up another point when you think about, you take a cat nap. Sometimes you're, a siesta in the afternoon and you sleep for 15, 20 minutes and you wake up and you feel refreshed. Well, by sleeping and letting your brain go dormant, once again, your brain shrunk down. You allowed that cerebral spinal fluid to come in, pull that metabolic waste out. Now you wake up, your brain's back to normal activity, normal size, and you feel refreshed. It wasn't a full night's sleep. You didn't go through sleep cycles and cleanse it out over and over again, but just enough to make you feel better. And that's why a cat nap would be so important for you. When it comes to your own sleep issues, I always find that a great place to start is to ask yourself, why am I not sleeping? Because what really matters is that not getting great sleep is not the problem. It's actually a symptom. So we have to listen to our bodies and understand why we're not sleeping. And there's 2 really, really broad main reasons. The first one is pain, and a lot of people are experiencing pain, and so they're not getting good sleep because of pain. And the second one is lifestyle. And if you make changes to your lifestyle, you'll find out that your lifestyle is causing you to have bad sleep. So we're going to kind of investigate that and talk about the most common lifestyle issues, since these are the low-hanging fruit and things that you could change very quickly, very easily in your life and move forward and get better sleep. And it's kind of funny here at our lab in our office, we've had a lot of talk about low-hanging fruit when we first brought this up, and there was a lot of discrepancy about what everybody thought that meant. And so we started compiling information and go, well, what do you think it means? What do you think it means? And low-hanging fruit, we found out that there was a divide, and that divide came at about 40 years old. So if you were younger than 40 years old, low-hanging fruit meant to you something that was a negative connotation, that was maybe something lazy, that maybe was you didn't put forth enough effort, and it wasn't something that was necessarily good. And then people that were over 40 were saying, no, low-hanging fruit, that's a common sense thing. That's the easiest thing to do. We're going to do that first because it's the most effective. It's the easiest. So it's very unusual. So I'm curious what your thoughts are. Put a fruit emoji in the comments section and let me know what you think low-hanging fruit means to you. So one of the reasons that you wake up at night is cortisol. So a lot of people will say, oh, it's not so much that I have trouble getting to sleep. I fall asleep, but then I wake up a few hours later and then I can't get back to sleep. And if that sounds familiar, it's usually cortisol. It's almost like it's a flashing red light when somebody says, yeah, I fall asleep just fine, but I wake up. That's cortisol. And cortisol is a stress hormone. And we'll talk more about cortisol and how to fix that later, but that's actually what's keeping you awake. And these are things that you can change with lifestyle issues. So one of the things that we'll start with the low-hanging fruit is don't eat within 3 hours of bedtime. And no food at all. Like just let your stomach be empty when you're actually trying to fall asleep, and that's going to help you. And then also limiting sugars and carbohydrates too at night. That's going to be very helpful to keeping those cortisol and insulin levels down. Drinking alcohol at night, it sounds easy enough and it might help you fall asleep initially, but then you're going to notice that 1 a.m. to 3 a.m. range, you're going to wake up again. And this is very similar to that sugar and carb thing before bedtime, is that cortisol is going to be released. It's going to stress out your body and it's going to wake you up. And so, these are habits that are hard to break and they become a lifestyle thing. And breaking this cycle isn't as easy as it seems. But coming up, I'm going to share with you a couple products that might help you get over the hump so that you can be on your way to better sleep and hopefully eliminate alcohol from your lifestyle. And that's, it's not sustainable for everybody, and it may be a choice that you just choose not to make, and that's okay. But there's other things you can do. But it's worth mentioning for sure. So the next one I want to talk about is grounding. And if you're not familiar with grounding, it's literally your body, your skin, touching the earth. And by doing that, you're releasing the negative ions that are built up in your body and grounding yourself to the earth. And it's important that we do that throughout the day, at least once a day, maybe 15, 20 minutes a day. Some people do it all night long. There's different techniques, there's different things, but just touching the ground. And so that is going to realign your energy. It's going to discharge negative ions. It actually will change your blood, and it will help change your pH. The more negative ions and things you have built up, the more acidic your body is, the more acidic your pH and balance of your body is, the more prone you are to having health issues, to sleep issues, the symptoms that manifest, one of those symptoms being poor sleep. So we talk about grounding as an important thing. And we kind of joke about like farmer time. You ever heard of farmer time? Farmer time is like, a farmer. They wake up with the sun. They go to bed when it's dark. They sleep when it's dark, and they're awake when the sun's up. One of the groups of people that don't have a lot of sleep-related issues historically has been farmers. Part of that is because they are following the natural circadian rhythm of the earth, or the resonant frequency. And so when you align your body to that, your body knows when to sleep. Your body produces different chemicals and hormones to help you sleep. It's a natural process. The other side that's attached to that too is that they're connected sometimes to animals. And you might notice that having an animal around, you feel more relaxed, you feel less stress, you feel a different sort of way with an animal. Well, a lot of times it's because you are releasing your negative energy into that animal that is grounded to the earth. They don't wear shoes, or most dogs don't wear shoes, but that can be, if you're on a horse, you're grounded because you're touching that horse is connected to the earth. There's a lot of things that can be good about having animals around. And the reason for that is the grounding side. And so that can help your body in a lot of different ways. Check out my video on grounding for more detailed information about how to do that and some product recommendations to help you on your journey. So the next thing I want to get into is breathing exercises. And we do breath work and some of our other videos and talk about that. But nighttime breathing exercises are just as helpful. And so when you take some big, long, deep breaths, usually 5 to 10 deep breaths, once again, that increases your oxygenation. It blows off your CO2. It changes the pH in your body from more acidic, and it changes it over to more alkaline. When you are more alkaline, you are in better health. When you are more acidic, you are on your way to poor health. You can look at just the pH of your body and look and see what that pH is. And anybody that's more acidic is usually very much unhealthy, and people that are very alkaline are very healthy. So that helps you change your alkalinity with just breathing. An example of that would be when you work out and say you do a sprint, and then after that sprint, maybe you walk around a track for a whole lap at just walking and breathing. And the reason you do that is because you have a buildup of lactic acid, and that is when your muscles consume calories and build up lactic acid. Well, that acid is acidic, which lowers your pH, which makes you unhealthy. So just by breathing, you're able to change your acidity and your pH in your body. So the breathing exercise is, like I said, 5 to 10 breaths, but then also count to 20. And it sounds really simple, and it is just that simple. And the reason you do that is because it takes over that racing mind of all the things going on in your life and all the things maybe you have to do tomorrow, what you have to do when you wake up, or what you're thinking about when you go to bed. And you kind of put that in the back of your mind while you're counting. And it's a, 1 through 20 is a very short sequence. But during that time, your subconscious mind takes over. And it helps suppress all of those racing thoughts and helps relax your body and relax your mind so that you can drift off to sleep. And sometimes you won't even get to 20 and you realize, oh, I just woke up and I guess I was counting to 20 and now I'm awake again. So it worked, right? And these are some simple things. Cleaning up your diet. Cleaning up your diet is sometimes easier said than done, but the main culprits of poor health are going to be sugars. They're going to be processed sugars, high fructose corn syrup, seed oils, things of that nature. Not necessarily what you hear about, fats and proteins and don't eat this and don't eat that. It's sugar. Sugar is really, really bad, and it always turns your body acidic. It is an acidic property. That is what it does. It lowers your pH. These are things that really hurt your body. Daily exercise is the next one. So when you're talking about the pH part of it, daily exercise, you're oxygenating your body, you're breathing, it's moving your body, it's tiring out your body, it's cycling through your energy as far as pulling glycogen out of your muscles, your body's replacing it, it's moving, your lymphatic system's moving. There's so many good positives to exercise. So your diet, your exercise, all these different things, that's the low-hanging fruit that is available to you if you're willing to make those changes. And some of these can be an evolution of changes, and some of them you might just say, gosh darn, I'm doing it today. And that was going to be enough. Because like I said, the sleep part of it is rarely a sleep issue. It's almost always a symptom of other things in your body. So looking internally and saying, what am I doing and what is my body trying to tell me? That's where you're going to find your answers, not seeking pharmaceuticals, not an Ambien to help you sleep. So the next section that we're going to go into is kind of the more invasive side. And this is where you go, well, there's other problems besides just a lifestyle. There's actual physiological problems. And the number one thing that comes to mind is pain. And so in my practice, when I'm treating patients, the first thing, everybody comes in and says, what do you have for sleep? What can you do for sleep? My very first question is, why do you think you're not sleeping? And when they come back and say, well, my back, my knee, my this, my shoulder, all these different pain-related issues, I immediately go into mode of we have to manage and treat the pain, because when your body is under stress, like we said, that cortisol, that stress hormone, your body is not going to get good sleep. So managing that pain is a really good start. And then once you manage the pain, you'll realize that, oh, wow, now I can get good sleep, because that sleep was a symptom of other issues. So now this is a good place where I think we should bring up cannabis. And a lot of people will say, oh, cannabis is taboo and oh, don't use cannabis. I'm a big proponent of cannabis. I think cannabis has a place, and it's not to get stoned and try to pass out and for sleep. But cannabis has some very unique uses, and it's a widely abused drug, but it is a plant, and it's plant-based medicine, and it is all natural. And so let's talk about that for a second. When you talk about cannabis, people often associate that to THC, to CBD, sometimes even CBN. And so when you're specifically talking about sleep, CBD, THC, and CBN are all things that I say, if you add that in, you will notice great sleep. I always go for a CBD heavy product, which is usually a hemp-based product. And one that I would recommend that I use personally is called Doze, D-O-Z-E, like doze off and sleep. And that's made by Wellphora. You can buy that at wellphora.com. And it's a great sleep aid. And all it is it's a CBD product that has a little bit of THC and an increased amount of CBN. And so THC and CBD work together very well. And CBN is another cannabinoid. Cannabinol is what CBN stands for. And CBN is a sedative, but it's not psychoactive. So it helps you feel rested and sleepy, versus CBD, it might make you feel relaxed, but you don't actually feel different with CBD. CBD is indirect, so it's more like taking Tylenol. You don't feel Tylenol working, but it is working. So that's how CBD works. THC is very direct. It's more like alcohol or an opiate drug where you take it and it makes you feel a certain way. CBN is very subtle, where it can make you sleepy like a sedative, but it's not like profound, like knocks you out. So that Doze product is very useful. You get 60 nights of sleep out of that one product. So it's something that I recommend that you can try after you've managed your pain. And then on the pain management side, I recommend watching my videos on cannabis, because there's some very helpful ways that you can manage pain with cannabis without getting high. There's some other things you can do. And then even some people like gummies and turning to gummies. And so on the gummy side, don't use CBD and CBN for the gummy side of things, because it's a very ineffective way to do it. But THC gummies can be an effective way. You just don't want to overdo it, because if you do too much, you're going to have more sleep issues. You're going to have paranoia. It's a lot of different things. And then gummies are also sugar, so it's kind of going against having sugar. But sometimes gummies, it's just a little bit of sugar, so it's not really going to spike your insulin too high. And so on the THC gummy side, there's another brand that I would share with you, gummy420.com. You can buy THC gummies there. They're hemp-based gummies. They're as natural as you can be with a gummy, which is not necessarily all natural, but still another good option. And so the dose for sleeping is 5 milligrams. It's a very low dose. Most everybody that uses 5 milligrams won't feel any psychoactive effects. It's like if you had a half of a beer, maybe you just wouldn't even notice. Some people might say it's the equivalent of a glass of wine, where maybe you feel more relaxed, but you don't feel drunk. That would be what 5 milligrams. And then there's some people that might need a little bit more based on body mass or tolerance, and they might go as much as a 10 milligram gummy. So at Gummy 420, you can buy 10 milligram gummies. And what I tell people is cut them in half. Have half about an hour before you go to bed, and you'll go, wow, I slept great. No hangover, no side effects. It's a great way to do it if you can use THC. So just another tool for your toolbox there. And so the last thing that you can do proactively for better sleep is a lot of people use magnesium. And magnesium can be a great tool because in America, our food supply, our fields, our crops are very mineral deficient. Our bodies are mineral deficient. And one of the things that we are historically very mineral deficient in is magnesium. And magnesium is super important to our bodies in so many ways. But there's also a lot of forms of magnesium out there, and there's magnesium supplements and pills, powders, and there's so many different things. But I'll just share with you what I use is I use magnesium oil. And so with all the different types of magnesium, I personally just stick with magnesium chloride. And magnesium chloride will come in an oil form, and then you can spray it anywhere on your body and it'll be absorbed through your skin. For me personally, I spray it on the bottoms of my feet. And the reason I do that is because magnesium chloride can be drying and magnesium oil can be drying. So it could dry out your skin, which is not really a concern of mine, especially on the bottom of my feet. You also have the largest pores in your body are on the bottom of your feet and your armpits. So if I was choosing a place to have dry skin, if that was an issue for me, it'd be on the bottom of my feet and it'd be no big deal. That's another product that you can get at wellphora.com. You can get it really lots of places, but look for magnesium chloride, specifically from magnesium oil. And then you can make it yourself. I mean, this is something you can go on Amazon and buy the magnesium chloride salts and the crystals and mix it yourself. And you can make your own for even cheaper than you could buy it for. So there's a lot of options out there for you. So now you have all these new tools in your toolbox, whether it's information about how to make some lifestyle changes or some product recommendations or just things that you can just cut out of your life completely. These are all ways that you're going to get more restful, better sleep. And that more restful, better sleep is going to absolutely improve your health. You're going to feel better. Your brain's going to function better. And you're just going to feel more vitality in your life. So if you like this information, you want to learn more ways to biohack your health, then follow along at Secret Biohacks, like, subscribe, and come see us for more videos.